All right, movie number 4. This next step is based on the Mustang sequenced file. I duplicate this 4 times, and I want you to keep your eye as you are doing it on this stacking order, okay? Because it's layer 12 that is going to be the one that is the only Mustang that's going to be parent. It's going to be the parent of 3 other layers. Now, here's what I want to say. If you don't keep it in the same order, stacking order, it really doesn't matter. Okay? Just make sure before you parent the Mustang to the ship comp, the sign, and the rope, that you have the right Mustang that you're using as the parent. Don't just arbitrarily, because I tell you to use layer 12, use layer 12. There are many students who just get the stacking order incorrect. And if they just would have understood that we have to have the right plane do it. Now, based on the right plane doing it, look at the actual file. Look at how this starts out with one Mustang. Okay, that one's done. Now another Mustang comes in. So it's the second Mustang, which is really the 12th layer, okay, 12th layer, which controls everything else. Now, the size of this Mustang is really here, right here. Now, this sign comp here, and the rope, and this video that's inside of there, they don't scale ever. They're parented to him. And because he scales, guess what? They scale. So if you mess up the order of what you parented something to, make sure everything is not enlarged like this and unparent something. Unparent it when it's its normal size like that. Unparent, reposition, then reparent, and you will have everything done right. But before you go parenting these guys to that plane, make sure you have the right plane by turning off the visibility in the layer palette. Okay, that was important because there's another plane that comes in upside down, the goofball, and then there's another plane at the end that actually breaks the shatter. It shatters everything. So let's go to just you keep your eye on the ball here. Layer 1 is the first plane. Layer 12 is the second plane. Layer 3 is the third plane, and layer 6 is the fourth plane. Again, try to keep, that's at the end. Now obviously, when you put in the second plane, there's not going to be 12 layers yet. So it's going to be whatever layer. Just try to keep literal to my other direction so it ends up being the 12th layer. But if it's not the 12th layer, then make sure that the rope, the sign comp, and the ship are parented to the right Mustang. Okay, boy, I've said that a million times in a row. Now, I don't know why I closed that, but I'm going to go on and do the next thing. Let me go backwards a little bit. With the layer, let's start with layer 1. Set the current time to 25 frames. Drag the Targa file down, the Mustang file, down from the project window. Now, we're going to use negative scales, and a negative scale will turn something around. So I don't know how long this movie's going to last, but I don't care how many movies it takes. So we're going to go to step 25. And okay, that's good. We're going to go to step 25. I was making sure I had step 22 and 23 finished. Let me paper shuffle myself for a second. Okay, now let me go to step 25 because that's really where we're beginning. So goodbye and hello. There you are. And let's go ahead with step 25. So let me close this. Okay, step 25. Let's start with layer 1. Set the current time to 25 frames. With the current time on 25 frames, let's drag the Mustang from the project window to the top of the timeline, make the following edits. Now, in this case, I haven't done this. I want to do these planes with you, okay, because a lot of students get this all messed up. So let's go into the sequences and drag the Mustang to the top of the timeline at that point. Now, make the following edits. I'm not going to forget anything. At point 25, position, click the stopwatch. So let's hit P for position. I'm going to click the stopwatch, and now I will make sure the position is right. 154, and 122. Okay, and at 2 seconds 24 frames, let's go ahead, or at the end, let's go 770 and 122. So I said 770. I do that all the time. 777, and again, we're going to keep it at 122. Now, we want this to not be linked when we scale it. So let's hit Shift S for scale, and let's unlink scale. Okay, and let's go -40, because I want the plane to only switch. If I link it, it'll not only switch from one side to another. Let me go over like this. It'll not only switch from one side to another, but it'll go upside down. So I need to uncheck it and go -40 by 40, and that will allow me to keep the plane exactly working from left to right, not right to left. And I didn't want it upside down. So now you can see the plane is coming in. And what did I do? Oh, I knew. I know you. I know what you said. When I set the first keyframe, it's -154, not +154. It's okay. I've never been known to make a mistake. Okay, now that goes off the screen this way. Command S to save the file. All right, unlink scale. Okay, now we're going to go to layer 12. Except how many layers do we have in our comp? We have 3. So let's take the sequence down again and put it at layer 12. So what I want you to do now, though, is only set it. Let me see where I tell you to set it. Set the current time to point. Whoops, let me delete that. Set the current time. I didn't have to delete it. I could just use the bracket to push it in. So if I set the current time to 3:04, and then use the bracket to make sure, the left bracket, to make sure that the endpoint snaps to that point, I'll be fine. Drag the Mustang from the project window to the second layer temporarily, 12th layer later on. I hope I'm stressing that enough. Make the following edits. Time stretch, and stretch that to 150%. So let's go time stretch. I'll try to do this as fast as I can to 150%. So I have now slowed the plane down, in other words. Okay, what was fast, now it's going slow. Now it wants me to set the following for position. So let's go P for position and see how fast little Brian can get through this. So at 3:04, I click the stopwatch and set the position at 1300 by 240. Way off the screen to the one side, which is cool. Now let's go to this next two want easy ease. So let's go 412. If I go too fast, I'll probably make a mistake, but that's okay. 406 by 240. So let's go 406. And now this one wants to have easy ease. Now the next one will come in automatic to easy ease. So let's go 503. And let's now take this to 262. Okay, and that one came in automatically. And then the bottom one, the last one, it doesn't really matter because easy ease will be at the negative part. So let's go to Option Shift J, 521. And at 521, let's set this to -242.2. Oh my God. Okay, I probably didn't have to do that, but -242. Okay, 0.2. Yeah. Okay. Manually drag the timeline. Now, wait a minute. I'm not sure that that one should still be on the screen. Okay, but if it isn't on the screen, let me make sure I did that right. -242.2. Stretch factor to 150%. Okay, did I not scale it correctly? Leave scale linked. No, it was 40 and 40. Let me make sure the scale is correct. Shift S for scale. All right, scale is fine. Obviously, at the last keyframe, I'm going to trust it. I see it on the screen. Obviously, it has to go off screen. So I'm not exactly sure why it's not going off screen, but you know what? We can fix that later. You know what? It's gonna, because I'm obviously making scale I should just read on. Let's go to Option Shift J. I always do that to myself, and I'm the one that wrote the darn thing. I never trust my own writing, but that's the way life goes. 0304, which is 3 seconds 4 frames. We want this one to set to 200 with it linked. And now we go to 412. And at 412 we go to 105%. That's why it's not going to show when it's off screen. And now we go to 427. And at 427 we set this to 75%, so it gets nicely smaller. And now obviously when I manually drag it now, because it's small, see how you can't see the plane? I should just again trust myself. So now what I didn't tell you is I didn't set those to easy ease, but that's okay. If I did click on both of these, I'm just going to manually set this to easy ease because I think that's going to look good. And even though it doesn't say that on the screen, you can go ahead and do that so it looks better. Actually, we only need the middle one to easy ease. So I'm going to command click on the first one and hit Command S to save. Let me go to the next one and see if I want to keep this on this movie or not. Let me make my paper shuffle noise. Layer 3. So let's go grab the next one and bring it down and put it in as layer 3. I always do this. I never put it at the right time first. It's something I do. 703 was the time I was supposed to do it. So let's go to 703. Thank goodness that After Effects has a ton of different quick keys, like this bracket key, to shoot that to 703. I'm so happy. Make the following edits. Leave scale linked and set to negative 80%. So let's just do the negative 80% first, and let's hit Shift P. And 703, let's click the stopwatch and set the position. Then I'll do the other one at negative 250 by 122. Okay, that's not going to be higher on the screen. And then negative 250 by 122. Then at 902, I was looking at the next step. At 902, let's go 890 by 122. So positive 890. Now that takes me across the screen to the other side, obviously. Now let's set the scale of this as negative 80%. Now that's going to make this thing turn and be the other way. So obviously it's turned and it's upside down. So that's what happens when you leave it linked and you hit negative. It does both X and Y, which is cool because this goofball is flying upside down. That's fine. And now maybe we can do layer 6 and then we can actually stop this one. So now let me do layer 6. Remember, layer 2 is going to end up being layer 12. Okay, so take this next one down to the second layer. You know what? I already messed up. Brian already messed up. This one right here was supposed to be the second layer. It's okay. Well, look at how I'm moving it up, and now it's the second layer. So really, the one that's the 12th layer moved down to the third layer. I'm just going to leave it at that, and hopefully you're not totally confused. So now let's take the next Mustang and put this one as the third layer. So our Mustang is now gone down to the fourth layer. But we're going to leave it selected. I did it again. I didn't put it at the right time. Let's go 2106. Now at 2106, I am going to, which is now, at least I have it on the third layer. I now have it, this is the Mustang for the last part of the movie. All right. I'm going to read it for a second. I need position, and I need scale and linked, and I need rotation. So I need position and rotation and scale. So let's go to set a stopwatch for position at 2106. Then we're going to go to 2204. So as fast as I can get this done, I will. 2106, I better go back to 2106 though, because 2106 was supposed to get 890 and 122. So let's go 890 and 122. Okay. Then 2204 is now supposed to get 349 and 344. So let's go 349 and 344. It's going to take it down. So now we have started our plane coming in from the one side, which is why we have to set different rotation keyframes. Plus, I'm going to ask you to widen or move the Bezier handle in a minute. So the next one is 2305. Now at 2305, don't miss this. This is negative 250. I'm actually talking to myself, not you. Negative 250, and I'll tab to positive 122. So let's go 122, and now it goes up. So we have our little smiley face curve for our plane to do what it's going to do. Now, mimicking those same keyframes, let me zoom into that. Mimicking those same keyframes, so we can use J and K, we're going to set rotation keyframes. So let's go back to the first one before I fix anything, and let's click a stopwatch for rotation and set the rotation at negative 40. All right, so let's click and go negative 40. So it's on a down angle. All right, and let's go to 2204 or hit K and go to 0 on the rotation. Now let's hit K, which takes us to the next keyframe, and go plus 40. Makes total sense to me. And now look what happens when this thing comes in, and it does a really nice job of smacking the brick wall and going straight up. Now if you want to, you can smooth it out per what you want by just grabbing these keyframes and just moving them out to widen a little bit and flatten out the curve a little bit, so it has just a little bit of a better feel as that thing moves in. Okay, Command S to save the file. What I tell you on step 26 is when the plane is actually animated to go across the screen, the addition of motion blur will make a real sense of movement. So it wants me to add motion blur to this, which is this icon right where I'm circling right there. But that's going to really drag down the whole screen. It's going to drag down the RAM. It's going to drag down everything. So let me just read it to you first. When the plane is actually animated to go across the screen, the addition of motion blur will add a real sense of movement. Click the upper right-hand icon first, then click motion blur switch for each of the 4 layers. So we have motion blur added. I'm not sure on this file it's going to hurt anything, but remember I said that at some point. You can always put motion blur on later, but let me click motion blur to actually activate it, then go to motion blur on all 4 of my Mustang layers, and let's now see that I have motion blur put on. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ram this, just this one. Let me hit B and let me hit N and hit save and ram this so that you can see what motion blur is on. Now you know what, I have my RAM resolution is set on half. I'm going to put it on full and at 0 for a moment so it looks really pretty on screen. Now here comes the motion blur, and it does add a very good sense. You can even see it interpolates between each frame, and it gives it a nice motion blur so that at real time the plane's going to look like it has total good movement. Here it comes right now. And the plane looks like it has really good movement, or as good as we can make it in this. Okay, Command S to save the file. We'll see you in the next movie.